Here we go now. Hey, y'all. This is live. Hey, y'all. Happy Sunday. I know some people might come in here thinking that we're recapping Love and Marriage Huntsville, but no. We haven't been live on a Sunday in such a long time. Let me know if you guys can see me, hear me. Also, let me know where you're watching from. This is our recap of the Real Housewives of Miami, Season 7, Episode 15. Next week, I believe they said, is the season finale. I mean, sad but happy at the same time. I didn't love how the season began, especially with the Julia of it all. What's going on with Julia's hair? What is going on with Julia's hair? I think that's karma. That's karma. They're not gonna. The karma said your season's gonna end as bad as your season began. Julia. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. We see you. Shout out to our King's Guards. We appreciate you guys. Rita's watching from Bonn, Germany. There we go. Russ is watching from New Hampshire. Iris is watching from Delaware. What's going? RQ says, God, no Love and Marriage Huntsville. Diva's watching from Massachusetts, right? Okay. Or Barcelona's in the house. What's going on today at Talk? Detroit, Michigan. Diane's here. All right. Angel said those half braids. It's been bad look after bad look. But okay, fine, whatever. If you had to rate this week's episode of The Real Housewives of Miami from 1 to 10, how would you rate it? I have to say, as you know, I've said to you, I've loved these last few seasons since the reboot of Real Housewives of Miami. I feel like this season was actually really good as well. The fact that we went on an international trip and then literally went on a 2-day cruise that felt luxurious, like we took a little bit of an escape from somewhere. Okay, I'm here for it. And there's some real conversations that we're going to be talking about. Destiny's watching from Manchester, UK. Judy, what's going on? Judy's watching from Inglewood. Rahina, thank you for Friday. Rahina knows what I'm talking about. Shout out to Rahina who came to the show on Friday. Shout out to everyone that came out to the show on Friday. Thank you to the Brooke Ashley for being our hostess with the mostest. And for dropping that Wendy tea. I'm sure now she'll publicly say it on her channel. But if you have the live stream option, then you saw it as well. If you came in person, you saw the tea as well. You saw my tea. I got my first cease and desist. And I did not cease or desist, but I did respond. Okay. But shout out to those of you that got the live stream. I know a couple of people had some issues with getting their live stream ticket in regards to you didn't get the link. Please do me a favor and spread the word for anyone else that had made, maybe I'll miss it in the comments section or something like that. If you did not get your link, email the venue or the email that was provided to you when you purchased your ticket. Email that email and forward the confirmation number so that they know that you paid for your ticket. They will email you the link. Some people didn't get it, but a lot of you did, and a lot of you watched the live stream or watched the replay. So thank you to everyone. All right. So Dental Gal says, yeah, I got my link with it, no problem. But look, it's technology. It doesn't work for everyone. Also check your spam. For those that may have not gotten the link, check your spam. Sometimes that's where it could have ended up. I literally saw that I missed an email that I had that I was waiting for a response on, and I was responding to them, letting them know I didn't see anything updated on this, but then I saw they had sent me an email. So things happen. But for those that may have did all the things, checked all their emails and didn't get it, email the venue. I have no control over getting that link to you, but email the venue and they will send it to you because some people did email the venue and they got the link. So nothing's perfect, but shout out to all of you that attended, that came in person, that had a good time. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. It was the final show of 2025 for us. We'll see what happens in 2026. You just don't know. God willing, we will be back in a city near you, right? And maybe in a new cities. But okay. All right. And I'll talk more about it. I'll talk more about it later in regards to Kempire. Last night I went live on TikTok and I talked a little bit about the Kempire After Dark, a live show as well. Foxy said her link worked. Yeah, things happen. It's all right. All right. Oh, Dental Gal says, yes, let's do it again. All right, we'll see. We'll see. Okay. But I will say this, New York, thank you for showing up and showing out. However, for those that want me to do multiple shows or you want a longer show, this is why you got to show up early. You can't wait till the last minute to buy a ticket. I get it. Not everyone has the finances to do it immediately. But if you would like for us to have double shows or more shows, you got to show up and sell out early. We sold out, though. Thank you. Look. But can you imagine if we had sold out earlier, then we could have had another show. But it's okay. It's all right. Thank you to everyone that showed up and showed out. We appreciate you guys. All right. Real Housewives of Miami. If you had to rate this week's episode, this is the precursor to the season finale. If you had to rate this week's episode from 1 to 10, how would you rate it? I thought it was a good episode. I'm not going to say that it was a 10. It was definitely better than an 8. Maybe a 9. Maybe an 8.5. I'm going to give it a 9. Because there are a few things, but we'll see by the end of this how I would rate it. But definitely, I probably would give it like an 8.5, 9. I thought it was a good episode. Yeah, there's a lot of little things that we need to talk about. Let me open my notes. Guys, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. It's an easy, free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. If you're listening to the podcast version to this, shout out to our podcast fam. We appreciate you guys. All right, so make sure that you guys subscribe to the Kempire podcast and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Sometimes I add some additional content to the podcast episodes, or exclusive podcast episodes are available there. Last week, we added a nice, juicy OC extended version of my recap. So if you missed it, this is what you're missing out on. I'm very intentional with everything that I do. Amina gave it a 7.5. Diva gave it an 8. Foxy gave it an 8+. Shark gave it a 7. She gave it an 8. Okay, is this she by Sheree? Or she by someone else? ATX Bell says, happy Sunday. I gave it an 8. Thank you for being a member. Shar, thank you for being a member as well. Okay. I honestly like Gilded Age more than Bridgerton. Me too. I've been watching the Gilded Age, y'all. I'm on season 3. I'm enjoying it. I didn't know that Marion is Meryl Streep's daughter. I learned that this weekend. Had no idea. She's a good actress. Is she as good as her mom? I mean, I have to see her in other roles. Okay. Who's that? Ken says, I love the Twitch lives. Shout out to our Twitch community. We have quite a few people over there. Make sure you follow me on Twitch. Maybe I'll go live after this on Twitch. So stay tuned for that. Okay. Virgo Leo Cap says, I honestly want Stephanie and Alexia to be besties. I teared up watching their scene together. They're very much alike. Yeah, because I think we knew. We just have forgotten that Alexia has a sister, but we didn't know that Alexia and her sister were having issues. All right, we're not going to jump ahead. Let's start from the beginning, because last week's episode of Real Housewives of Miami ended with Stephanie making peace with Marysol, having the conversation yet again. This is where I was sort of like, yes, I don't like the bros. I don't like how they are mean girls in this group or orchestrate these different things. However, I did feel like Stephanie was harping. Anyone else? I was like, okay, Stephanie, like, move on. Like, you're being bratty. Like, you're annoying. So I did feel like she was beating a dead horse. And I still feel like that this week. All right? So they end last week's episode with a sort of like flash to what we can expect for this week's episode. And that is Stephanie basically calling out Marysol for being two-faced. She didn't do it in this episode, but she's starting to piece the things together, and she has a conversation at the end of this episode with Adriana. Okay? All right. So they start off the episode. Some of the ladies are on the deck, and they're sunning themselves. Kiki's sunning her JJ, whatever. Okay? But that's not too over the top, right, Kiki? But some of the ladies went to an 80s inspired workout. Okay. Mr. Melon Magic says, no Bridgerton slander. That's my show. I'm okay with Bridgerton. I kind of fell out after the first season, but I loved Queen Charlotte, though. That was amazing. All right. Another sidebar. So I want to say this. Gertie's outfit and wig, I loved it. Like, at one point, Alexia comes in and she's like, she didn't even realize that it was Gertie. Because Gertie, Gertie's been rocking the bald head. And she had like this little short bob thing going on. I thought it was so cute on her. I like the little 80s inspired, look. So the ladies talk about, well, not all of them went. Gertie went, Alexia went, Marisol went, and Stephanie went, and Larsa went. So they're talking about their time in the 80s. Stephanie was like, I was a baby, but Masood was in college. Okay. But I found it interesting because they flash back to Gertie's picture, they flash back to Marisol's picture, they even flash back to Alexia's picture, where she says she was dating a cocaine cowboy, her ex-husband, the father of Peter and them, and Frankie. But she didn't know it at the time, she said. She looked beautiful back in the. I mean, she's still a beautiful woman, Alexia. But when they throw back to her older photos, like, oh, she was a beautiful woman, young lady. But you notice when Larsa was talking about her 80s experience, they did not flash back to an 80s photo of Larsa. And I thought that was convenient because Larsa does not look like what Larsa looked like when we first met her on the show. So I can imagine the 80s picture, really people would have been like, who's that? So they only flash back to a Bon Jovi picture where she's like, oh, I really had a big crush on John Bon Jovi. Oh, was that your type? She was like, it was then. Girl, we already seen the older seasons. We already know your type. We already know what you looked like before. But I guess the producers did not want to be shady. But that wouldn't have been shady. It would have been factual. That is what you used to look like. But okay, fine. I just noticed that they didn't. I had to go rewind back. I was like, wait, did they show Larsa's picture? And I was like, oh, no, they didn't. They didn't show it. Jess Kelly says that Alexia has lived a life. Yeah, I will never say that Alexia has not had like an interesting storyline over the years. Even in the reboot. Like, you can't make this stuff up. All right. So, Alexia and Marysol have a conversation after the workout with Larsa. And she's like, we want to bring you and Lisa back together. And Larsa's like, she's not a responsive friend. Larsa, you're reaching. I know at the beginning of the season, I was defending Larsa because I said, Larsa was a really good friend to Lisa. She testified for Lisa in her custody situation with Lenny. And I still stand by that. However, now you're reaching. She's unfollowed Marcus, and now it's this, it's that. She's not a responsive friend, blah, 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 blah. She's reaching. But Marisol and Alexia's like, okay, you got to stop with the details. You got to be able to just move past it. Here's the thing. I agree, but I also disagree. Because part of me feels like it's going to be hard to move past a friend that you feel that's not being a friend to you, because it's going to show up again, them not being responsive and not being a friend. I feel like that's going to show up again. But I also feel like Larsa is dragging whatever issues she has with Lisa. I don't think Lisa being a non-responsive friend is real. I think Lisa has always been like that. I think the bigger issue you had was the connection to Marcus. And now that's over. Now you feel like you still have to drag this beef on. They do end up having a conversation. So then we segue to Larsa and Lisa sitting down for a conversation. Okay? And Larsa can't help but to be shady because Lisa orders I think it was like a glass of wine, but also green juice. And she's like, I'm trying to detox. And she's like, with a glass of wine and green juice? Nothing makes sense with Lisa, but we allow it, right? And just like her friends do. Her friends allow it. But okay. I did write notes in regards to like what's going on with Julia's hair. And in another separate scene with the group, while Lisa and Larsa are having their conversation, they talk about Adriana's birthday. And she doesn't want to celebrate it. We already talked about it. But Adriana looks fantastic. She's damn near 60. She looks great. Adriana arrives and she's like, she seems depressed. She's very quiet. I'm not sure what's happening. One of the things I speculated with Kiki, because she also was acting a little down during the Sevilla trip. And I said maybe it has something more to do with the show and maybe not being full time. The only difference, I feel like they were showing more of Kiki's personal story than they were of Adriana. So I don't know if it's the same, but you just never know. And I always remind you guys, sometimes what you're seeing on screen has nothing to do with what they're saying it is, and more so to do with what's happening behind the scenes or about the show. So I don't know if it's about that. I know later on she says it was about her boyfriend, Amari, being away in France for 6 weeks. I still feel like that was just a storyline, Adriana. I love you, but I do feel like that was just a storyline. I do. I feel like it was a reach. If it isn't a reach and that really is your boyfriend, good for you. Right? Good for you, Adriana, but I don't believe that. I don't. Okay. Back to Larsa and Lisa's conversation. So Lisa and Larsa have a conversation. I feel like we've talked about this endlessly during our recaps. They rehash a little bit of what was said, what has been happening. Larsa says her issues about the paparazzi and then the thing and that and blah, blah, blah. Like doing exactly what Alexia and Marysol told her not to do. Don't go over the details. So they do end up apologizing to each other. Lisa starts to tear up a little bit. I didn't see a tear, but okay. And she's like, I miss you. I miss our friendship. Here's the thing, though, Lisa. It's so funny that you sit here in this scene saying that you miss your friendship with Larsa. And there's so many amazing moments. She reveals to Larsa, I did end up unfollowing you. Larsa didn't notice. And Larsa said, if I had known, I would have unfollowed you and removed all of your pictures. Larsa's petty. We already know this about Larsa, but she goes down to the white meat when she's coming for you. But what I noticed versus what Lisa said on social media at the top of the season when she talked about Larsa and I weren't friends. You know, when the show started back, that's when we started hanging out a little bit, but we weren't really deep friends like that. So this is why I have to call Lisa out on her BS. Because now you're saying that you miss her friendship, that you guys used to be really close, that you used to hang out all the time. Did y'all notice that? I was like, ding, 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 ding. I was like, wait a minute. You're saying this on camera, but then on social media at the top of the season, you're saying you guys weren't really friends like that. You weren't really friends like that, but she testified under oath for you in your custody situation? Really? Come on.
Lies! The lies!
Lying Leo? Shout out to the Leos. Lying Leo, maybe? Because I'm like, come on. Again, team no one here. But sidebar, we had to mute someone during our Real Housewives of Orange County pre-recorded live recap. It takes a lot to get muted here on the channel, and it takes a lot to get blocked. But please understand, because I know the person's probably watching this, you will get blocked next time. Stop getting triggered and fighting for people that don't know you. It's weird. And harping on one particular thing when I've given you multiple examples of why I feel the way I feel about something that someone has done on the show. This is also my recap. You don't have to watch. If you don't like what I'm saying, you don't have to watch. Just a reminder. Okay. Danny says that they were social friends, not deep friends. Would you have a social... Danny, you being an attorney, would you have a social friend testify for you in a custody situation? I wouldn't. Personally. Ms. Parker says, residual villain. No, well, I know I ended the villain era during our New York City show for the tour, but according to astrology, Taurus's villain era is not over till 2026. So buckle up. Okay. Yes, Tanya, I do Pilates 3 times a week. Tanya says, are you still going to Pilates Kempire? Because you look good, Sarah. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. And I literally, during the Friday show, I was feeling a little sore because my Friday Pilates instructor, I have different instructors. My Friday one, I've been working with her for maybe almost 3 years. Oh, she killed me because I hadn't seen her for 3 weeks. Oh, Lord. But I feel better now. But yeah, exactly. Lover boy era. Thank you, Foxy. Foxy was watching the live stream. All right. Yeah, Fatima says, Lisa doesn't seem capable of having any deep connections because she's not deep. I hate to say that about her, but I feel like that. Keith says, let me find out Katie paying for bots. No, that person's not a bot. That person's been a part of our community for a long time. And there's just certain people in our community, which, again, it takes a lot to get muted and blocked around here. You can be contrary, but I know that there are some people that just love to be contrary just to be contrary. Not because they really even believe what they're saying. They just love to be contrary just to be contrary. Sometimes that's funny. You know, Danielle loves to be contrary too. Shout out to Danielle, one of our mods. But she loves to do that to be funny. But when you come in here triggered and like, it's too much because you're messing up the energy in the chat. I know it's not a literal room. However, there is an energy. And everybody was just like, what is going on? Like, girl, stop. Stop. Ain't that deep. The social deviant says, I've stepped in deeper puddles than Lisa. Damn. Ellie says, Mary, quite contrary. All right. Anyway, let's move on. We've already given too much attention to the negativity. If you haven't already, guys, be sure to like the video. It's an easy and free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. We're talking about the latest episode, the second to last episode, at least for the season before the reunion of the Real Housewives of Miami. In the live chat, be sure to vote on how you'd rate this week's episode if you're watching on YouTube. But if you're watching on Twitch or Twitter, let me know how you'd rate this week's episode. Based off of what I'm seeing on YouTube in our chat poll, with almost 200 votes, you guys are rating this episode between 7 and 10, 72%. Yeah, 72%. Exactly. Miss Barker says Stephen A. Smith is a career contrarian. And that's why I never react to certain celebrities or personalities, because a lot of the things that they do, they want that reaction. They want it. All right. Because they get clicks and likes and views and things like that. They get paid off for being contrary. Candace Owens is a perfect example of that. I do believe she believes a lot of the stuff that she says, but I do believe she takes certain stances because it's convenient and rage bait. That's a real thing. But anyway, we've digressed. Let me focus on this. So Lisa and Larsa finally open up to each other, apologize to each other, admit that they miss each other. They hug it out. They text the ladies. They're like, oh, we made up. Fine. So then the ladies back on the deck, Alexia says that she gets blamed for everything. Alexia, you are not going to beat these narcissism allegations. Somehow you are an empath, but you make everything about yourself. Even in the after show, everything is like, hey, this trip was supposed to be for me, but it didn't feel like it. Okay. Then she says, you know, I get blamed for everything. And then she brings up the Stephanie stuff. And she said, you know, I had my thing with why I didn't want to go on the plane. However, Marysol had more things. Mind you, Marysol's right there. I feel like Alexia has thrown Marysol under the bus. But clearly, Marysol didn't disagree because Marysol didn't say anything in that moment. Clearly, she had more things. But Marysol and Stephanie already had a conversation about this. They already had a conversation, so I do feel like Stephanie is harping, but you'll see later on when they're in the mud room, Alexia and Stephanie, Alexia drops more information. We'll get back to that. Okay. Oh, actually, we'll get to that in just a second. So the ladies go to the redemption spa, okay? Julia, you are not going to get away from the allegations that you are a suck-up, thirsty. Homegirl is sitting there massaging Marysol's feet and Larsa's feet. I feel so privileged. I'm like, you are ridiculous. She's sitting there massaging both of their feet. They said it was a great massage, though, in the after show. But you're not going to get away from these allegations that you are just wanting to be a part of the Mean Girls. But the Mean Girls already reminded you, we're always going to choose us over you. They didn't even go to Marbella for your big announcement. Because they could have went another mode of transportation, but they decided not to go. Because they just wanted to have all the different excuses as to why they didn't want to. Okay? But anyway. Gertie has a side conversation with Adriana, and she says that the therapist has suggested that she go to solo therapy. So she opens up to Adriana about having an appointment to go to therapy on her own. One thing I forgot to mention last week, guys, that I noticed in the after show for last week's episode, Remember I said I think that Gertie might have like some ADHD, but I said I'm not diagnosing her. She literally said it in the after show that she think that she might have that. So that might be part of the reason why Gertie always feels like the need to jump in. You know what I mean? So she says she might have that. I don't know. Again, I don't know how much it costs to get diagnosed, but there are a lot of people that are not diagnosed with it and that are walking around with it. So yeah, so I forgot to mention that during our last week's episode recap of the Real Housewives of Miami, that she mentioned in the after show that she might have ADHD. She's like, I think I have that, and that might explain why she's constantly interrupting people. Just saying, something to consider when we're talking about Gertie. Hey, Rahina. Rahina brought her sisters to the show. The last show, she brought her husband. Rahina, have you been to every single show? I know you've been to at least 3. We've had 4 New York City shows. Brooke reminded me. Thank you, Rahina, for the super chat and for being a member. Rahina, the hair. Rahina, the hair. I wish I had your hair. Rahina says, so lovely seeing you and Brooke. You guys were lovely. My peeps loved you. Also, they are a ceramic napkin holders. Forgot to mention. Oh, it's okay. We figured it out last night. Thank you, Rahina, for my ceramic napkin holders. Because at first I was like, what is this? But then people told me like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You probably already know. No, I didn't. I was like, for a second. And then someone said because I opened them up on TikTok last night. So thank you so much, Rahina. Rahina's always bringing me gifts. Thank you, Rahina. Appreciate you. And also for saving my life. That'll be between you, me, and your sisters. Oh, thank you so much, Janessa. Janessa says, Kempire just watched the New York City show live. It was a 10 out of 10. I wish it was longer. Brooke looked fabulous. Always. Brooke never looked bad. That's why I got to step up my game when I'm taking a picture next to her. You know what I mean? Abina says, I love Gertie, but I do wish my girl would just take a breath sometimes. But again, if it is something like ADHD, that might explain it. Because we've talked about this before in regards to Gertie interrupting people and not allowing people to speak. And I think that's what they were talking about, as opposed to her being too much, like a big personality. It really might be the fact that she has this ADHD. We don't know. She says she doesn't know, but she brought it up in the after show last week. Okay. Rosalind, you think Julio has a crush on Larsa? I wouldn't be surprised. Right? I wouldn't be surprised if she was massaging her feet. I don't know about like the massage. I wouldn't mind a foot massage, but if I think you're interested in me or you have like a foot thing, I probably wouldn't want you rubbing my feet. Okay? Just saying. All right, let's move on. Where are my notes? Here we are. So, Stephanie and Alexia are separated and they are in the mudroom and they're having a conversation. And Alexia admits that she thinks that Stephanie is bossy. Alexia says that she had like one thing when it comes to why she didn't want to go on the plane. All right. But she said that Marysol had many other things. And one of the things was Marysol was not happy and she had an issue with Stephanie going to lunch with Adriana. So although Adriana and Marysol have put their issues aside, we already knew that there was still beef between these two, okay? And we also know that there was still beef because later on during the cruise when they celebrate Adriana's birthday and they have the writing on the cake. I'm 100% sure because remember this cruise is Marysol's. I'm pretty sure she's the one who put the mathematical equation to equal 59 years old on the birthday cake. Because everyone's like, oh my gosh, what is this? And if you pay attention to Marysol's face, obviously it was Marysol. Who else would do this? I don't even think Alexia would do that, to be honest with you. I think that has Marysol's hands all over it. However, I'm gonna twerk on a fence. We can't forget that Adriana talked about how old Marysol is, her fake this, her fake that, her wrinkly knees. So, payback? Look, I'm fair. I know people will be like, oh, you don't like this person. I'm going to bring it up. In all fairness, Adriana talked about her wrinkly knees. Now she's going to put on a cake. Oh, you don't like your age? I'm going to put this on a cake. Fine. But okay. All right. So the big issue for Marysol was the fact that Stephanie went out to lunch with Adriana. It's a very mean girl mentality. Very mean girl. So Stephanie was a little taken aback when Alexia says that. So Stephanie then says that Alexia reminds her of her sisters, and she talks about the issues that she's had with her sisters. She's talked about the sister stuff, but they didn't dig deep into it this season. Based off of all the episodes so far, though, this what you call it? This seating chart ain't making no sense to me still. Right, y'all? I still would have given Gertie second chair and Julia second chair, because that really was the biggest storyline, the most reactive storyline of the season. They definitely should not be third. And maybe because the season ended with the Stephanie and Alexia of it all, and maybe it ends on a cliffhanger next week because they're going to continue to talk about it. I still don't think that was the biggest story of the season or had the biggest reaction this season. And that what really needs to be addressed at the reunion. And Andy Cohen should be, Gertie should be right next to Andy Cohen, since you're the moderator, so that you moderate a proper conversation of the microaggressions that happened at the top of the season. And then everything that happened with Martina on social media and surrogacy. I'm not saying that I even want Julia here next season. What I'm saying is, based off of what played out during the season, those two should be sitting right there. Then maybe Stephanie and Alexia. Then Lisa and Larsa. In my opinion. But putting her third chair, I'm like, no. Especially with the way that production, Andy, and the network have dropped the ball on handling what played out. Because I know they did an interview. They did, they do their damage control via the media outlets, and they said that Julia was spoken to in regards to her splashing Gertie. Okay, and look, I need a little bit more than a spoken to. No one forgot about this. No one forgot about this picture of Gertie sitting there drenched. Like, I didn't even realize how drenched she was until I caught this image of Gertie, which she talks about in this episode. She talks about being triggered and feeling like left out, and having these women bully her. They were bullying her. To me, when we talk about bullying, that situation that played out this season felt like bullying. Because no one checked in on Gertie. No one took Gertie on a trip after battling and beating cancer. They just wanted to move forward on it. They did. And this is just a reminder that none of them are your friend, Gertie. None of them. Adriana's your friend. I don't even think Lisa's her friend, because they talk about this in the after show. You remember the issue they had at the reunion last season, Gertie and Lisa. And she's like, stop being her advocate or something like that. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, I feel like Lisa just wants an alliance with Gertie and Adriana, because she did feel left out when it comes to the other girls because of Larsa. But that's my opinion, because we already said that Lisa doesn't have any depth, so that makes sense. Guys, we're almost at 150 likes. Don't forget to like the video. Paula, thank you so much for the super chat. Paula says, I was just diagnosed with ADHD last summer at 42. Paula, is it inexpensive to get diagnosed in regards to ADHD? Because, I don't like to assume, because I remember we were talking about Amanda Seales and getting diagnosed for autism, and that could be quite expensive in order to get diagnosed. So I don't know if it's the same for ADHD, but I definitely think, and maybe it will be a storyline, but maybe this will be something that Gertie can talk about next season. But will they show her compassion? No, they won't. They won't. I don't know why they can't seem to have compassion for Gertie. Look. And not go. Roberta says, "Go Bills." Is that a game happening today? Where's Miss Sharon? Okay, thank you, Q Potatoes, watching on Twitch. Q Potato says you can go to your PCP, your primary care physician, and they'll refer you. Okay. I'm not trying to get diagnosed, but informing the people. Informing the people. But thank you for sharing that, Paula. Thank you for sharing that. Hey, Janelle. Janelle was there. Bonjour, Janelle. She says, I think producers shifted the focus from the Julia Gertie stitch to Stephanie and her pre-repo plane to avoid the racism of it all. I'm not I'm not surprised by that because we also said that they dropped the ball. Keith, that's not necessarily true because it's one of the things that came up. He says your insurance covers your review for autism. That's not what I've heard. But, and especially in this country, not everyone's insurance is the same. Just say, maybe your good insurance, Keith. Look, put us on your good insurance. Oh, Mina says, I got diagnosed with ADHD when I was in high school, which was pretty expensive. Well, Amina, when was this? Last week? Because Amina, you look so young. When was this? Last week? Veronica, see, this is why I like when we start having these conversations. Look at this. Veronica says, diagnosed at 37, and it took me a year to get my insurance to cover the $4,000 cost for testing. See, everyone's insurance is different. Wow. Veronica, thank you so much for sharing. Replay crew, feel free to share because you're going to help people. I know Gertie watches our reviews too. So Gertie, get on it. No, I'm playing. I'm playing. I agree, Patricia. But he needs to learn. If you want to continue to be the moderator of these conversations, then you need to make a concerted effort, not just as the moderator, but as the employer. He's an executive. You are a superior here. Patricia says, we know Andy is not the best at dealing with microaggression. I agree with you, but he's going to have to learn today. Nicole, thank you so much for being a member for the Super Chat. Nicole says, trying to watch you and my 49ers at the same time. It's okay. Normally we're not live, but I had a live show on Friday. So that's why we're live this afternoon. But shout out to our replay crew. I know there'll be a lot of you watching the replay of this. We don't normally do our Miami recap on a Sunday. Yesterday, I spent the day just really, I went for a stretch. Then I did a little shopping. And then I was like, okay, I'm resting up. I went live on TikTok. That was about it. But it's okay, Nicole. Thank you so much. Paula, thank you, Paula, for another super chat. Paula says, it wasn't expensive, but I tried 2 years earlier and my insurance didn't approve. Last year, I had a new doctor and insurance. Keith, see what I'm saying? Every insurance is a little bit different, which is crazy to me, but this is our country. I wonder, and look, in case it is expensive, it might be cheaper just to go fly to like a place like Turkey or Europe and get a diagnosis or something like that. I don't know. I'm just saying, do your research. Oh, Russ Davis says, Gertie got that good insurance from the fire department. Salute to Russell. She posted some photos of Russell in celebration of the lives that were lost for 9/11. So shout out to our first responders, our firefighters. I remember a few years ago at my old house, there was a 5-alarm fire right behind me. Like, it was so scary. And I just remember seeing a lot of these firefighters go into this fire, and it was just reminding me how they risked their lives and first responders. Some were actually injured. They didn't die, but some were actually injured from going in to save people's lives. So shout out to our first responders. Shout out to our firefighters. We appreciate you guys so much, and we don't say it enough. So this is a great opportunity to say it. Teresa says, "What did you buy, Kempire?" I'm going to do a video. I'm going to do a TikTok video. So make sure you guys are following me on TikTok because I decided I'm going to do like a, not get ready with me, but like, what's in the bag kind of thing. So stay tuned for that. I am going to work on that today and I'm going to do it for TikTok. I will probably post it eventually here on YouTube. I just don't know when. So if you want to see it as soon as possible, TheKempire on TikTok. Keith says city, state, and feds have the best insurance. Yeah, for now. Look, for now. All right, guys. Let me continue so we can move on. We always digress, and I know a lot of you enjoy the digression, but I want to stay focused for those that want us to focus, okay? So Stephanie and Alexia have this conversation, and Alexia reveals that she hasn't spoken to her sister in 2 years, and her sister recently reached out to her when the news broke that Todd had filed for divorce. So they hadn't talked since her mother passed away. Remember that season? Because remember, for those that are just getting into Real Housewives of Miami, that happened since the reboot. Marysol, Alexia's mother passing away. So she's saying after that, which happens, it does happen in families when you have deaths and things like that. It can cause family conflict. And she says her and her sister are very different. She talked more about this on the after show. She talked more about like her sister's life. Her sister's married to an orthopedic doctor. They have younger children. And her sister doesn't like the fact that she's on reality television. Hence why we haven't seen her on the show. But she said she didn't talk to her sister for like 2 years. After her mother passed away, she said her mother really was sort of like the glue that kept them together. It makes sense. It makes sense. But that's where Stephanie and Alexia connect about that. And Stephanie's like, I didn't know that you had these issues. She's like, well, I could be the sister that you don't talk to, and you can be the sisters I don't talk to. Did you guys pay attention to Alexia's face? Alexia was just like... in her head, this is what I'm thinking that she's saying. I told you she reached out to me and we're talking again. I don't need you as my sister. Thank you, Peyton. Peyton says, I just want to say I love your channel, Kempire. Heart emoji. Miami is my franchise. Can you tell it for the other people too, Peyton? I just had David Yontif here on the channel. If you missed it, that was a video that we put out on Friday. David's like, he doesn't see it for Miami. If you missed that conversation, he explains why he doesn't see it for Miami. But I was like, no, that's my show. That's my show. That's my show. That's my man. That's my man. My man, my man, my man. My Miami, Miami, Miami. All right. Hold on. Patricia, I'm trying to find your comment. There we go. Patricia says, Alexia's story was sad. While I felt a sense of compassion for Alexia, however, Stephanie's situation is questionable, especially because we don't know the full situation. And it does feel like Stephanie makes stuff up. Because even in the argument with her and Marysol and Alexia, we caught her in a couple of lies. I don't feel like she's 100% honest. Janelle says, once you get diagnosed with ADHD, if you opt for meds, it may take another 3 to 4 months to find the right med or dosage. Also, there's a shortage for most ADHD meds. What ADHD meds? Is that because people are abusing them? Yeah. Isn't that like, what is the common drug they use for that? Adderall? Mm-hmm. Lord. All right. Guys, we're almost at 200 likes. Don't forget to like the video. It's an easy, free way of supporting not just me, but other channels recapping Real Housewives of Miami as well. If you're part of the replay crew, be sure to let us know how you would rate this week's episode and what you thought of the season so far. And don't forget, you can also hear our live recaps and special episodes on the Kempire podcast. Let me move on. So they bond over that. Marysol says, like, should we be concerned that they're in a soundproof room and we can't hear if they're arguing or screaming? I think she was more concerned at what alliance might be formed between Stephanie and Alexia. Do you think next season, if Marysol and Alexia come back, that there might be some sort of fight between them? I don't know. I just feel like it's brewing again. And they've had fights before since the reboot. But do you think? No, I don't think so. I don't know. I feel like there is an alliance between them, especially for Marysol. Marysol not being full-time here on the show, I think she aligns herself with Alexia so that she's able to film. All right, so they have their final dinner where they all dress up in red. I don't know, the Virgin Voyages, I don't know. Like, they seem like it's a particular, like it's an experience. And it definitely looks like an adult experience. No kids are allowed on the Virgin Voyages. It was definitely a promo. Sir Richard Branson was trying to promote this project. Okay, so I'm like, I believe, I believe that this was just to promote this his cruise line. I mean, great show, great opportunity to do it. And it works out for Marysol. Like I know Sir Richard Branson. Maybe she really doesn't, but no, I believe she does because some people forget that Marysol really was mixing and mingling in these circles. They remind us this week, Adriana says, you do know that Marysol was in PR for a long time. She was mixing and mingling with these folks before. Okay. All right. Let me see. All right. So the cruise dinner. Lisa beats everyone down, and she has to make a big deal about it because, one of the big narratives this season is that she's always late. So production says like, so how did you make it down to dinner early? And she's like, I had to time everything, a half hour to do my makeup, an hour to do my hair and this or that. And she figured she needs 3 hours. She needs 3 hours to get ready to be down there before everyone else. So she needs to make an announcement. Yes, I'm here already. And I get to sit wherever I want. Oh, this is the benefits of being early? Yes, Lisa. How long do you think that she'll keep it up though? I think because it was a big deal this season, she'll keep it up for now. But I think she'll get back to her old ways. If not, good. I hate a person that's late. Not literally hate, but I like that's a pet peeve. Like I don't like that. Natalie says that Martina may as well may know Richard Branson. I'm sure. Okay. Moving on. Okay. Their outfits. Everyone looks good in red. I haven't loved all of Gertie's outfits this season. The outfits have been a little bit all over the place, but her coming in with this sort of like bunny lingerie hat coming in. Larsa says that she looks like she's going to a swingers party in Fort Lauderdale. What you know about a swingers parties in Fort Lauderdale, Larsa? I didn't know they had swingers parties in Fort Lauderdale. It's very specific. Anyone else would like, Larsa, do tell. What do you mean? That was incredibly specific. But it was definitely giving that, though. I was like, what in the is going on? Oh, Creme Brulee says that Stephanie spoke some sense into Lisa on her tardiness. No, she didn't. Because remember, she still was late right after that. It was when the group mentioned it, her being late. Because remember, she was late again. She was late in Spain. All right, let's move on. So, the ladies talk about the last time that they had sex. Gertie was like, 2 days ago. So Alexia talked about having sex. And they were like, with who? She's like, I'm married. I had sex with my husband. And she's like, there's no walk of shame, Lisa. And she was like, I'm just kidding. And they let Lisa get away with it, get away with it because they're like, it was just Lisa. But it brings up the whole issue of like them trying to get her away from Todd, but she's still with Todd. I think her and Todd are done though, because Todd is threatening to sue Bravo. Then there's that. I don't know if he's filed a lawsuit. I haven't seen a lawsuit, but he did go on social media saying that he is suing Bravo. So Alexia apparently had sex 2 days ago. Two days ago. Stephanie, in her confession, because Marysol stands up, she's like, oh my God, everyone's getting along. This is fantastic, blah, 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 blah. And then Stephanie, in her confessional, says Marysol has two faces. And depending on which one you're talking to, that's the Marysol that you're going to get in the moment. I believe that. I do believe that Marysol is behind the scenes doing a lot. Hence why Dr. Nicole said that she did not want to come back to the show. Because Dr. Nicole alleged that Marysol, or one of her coworkers, we know who she was talking about, hired a private investigator to follow her. Like, that's weird. And I know some people justify, it's Housewives. No, that's not Housewives. You're having private investigators follow me around town as a woman with children? Like, that's weird. And it's probably like some strange man following her. But okay. Rosalind says Fort Lauderdale is wild. Is it? I didn't know that. I guess you got to be from around that area to know. Maybe that's why she was very specific. I was like, okay. Ellie says, what's Marisol's sign? A Capricorn. I need to know the rest because that's not very Capricorn behavior. But some of y'all might say it is. I don't know. Let me move on. So then they surprise Adriana with a birthday cake. But on the birthday cake, they have a mathematical equation that equals 59 years old. And of course, Adriana has been down this entire trip. She's missing her boyfriend. She's not happy about her birthday coming up. I actually think it had more to do with her and Julia. It did seem like Julia was trying to be sweet, but I think although Julia in these moments were trying to be sweet around Adriana, I'm wondering, was Julia even hanging out with Adriana during this cruise. Because I'm thinking maybe that's what it is. Adriana's seeing Julia hang out mostly with Alexia and Marysol. And then she's watching you massage Marysol's feet. So I think it might be a combination of all of it. The birthday coming up, missing her boyfriend, and then her best friend is acting like some sort of thirsty, clout chasing, you know what. Maybe. Look, maybe. All right. Wow, Queen Day says, I think Julia put that on the cake. No, I really don't think. Pay attention to Marisol's facial expression, because literally Adriana takes the ice cream cone that was on the cake and she crosses out the mathematical equation. And they're just like, who did that? The only person I think that really did that, I don't even think Alexia did that. Do I think that Alexia knew? Probably, but I don't even think that it was her idea. I think that was all Marysol. Donna says, Marisol's a Capricorn. We don't claim her. We're honest people. I'm sure she thinks she's honest too. Oh, okay. Let me move on. So that's how they end the cruise. Fantastic. Our next scene is with Gertie going to therapy. So I want to talk about this because shout out to the folks that are from the Caribbean, like Jamaica, from all the islands, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. I think a lot of you can relate to Gertie, but none of you have probably spoken about it. None of you have actually confronted your parents on being left maybe in the Caribbean or being left here in the United States while they worked or something. As someone that was born and raised here, I never experienced that, but I have siblings that have experienced that. I have family members and family friends. I told you my house was sort of like the house where a lot of the cousins and aunts would come through, spend time and get work and blah, 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 blah. So I can only imagine the trauma that they are told not to talk about, not to go to therapy for. I can imagine a lot of people looking at Gertie's situation and being like, oh, someone has said it. I thought it was just me, but I'm not the only one that felt trauma from being left somewhere that didn't feel safe and maybe being left somewhere that wasn't safe. Not saying that is always the case. What I'm saying is that sometimes that does happen when you leave children in strangers' hands or, other family members and things like that. So I was really glad that she had this conversation with the therapist, and then she ties it into the group and how it triggers her. It triggered her this season with everything with Julia. So I appreciated her talking about it because I feel like she's going to help a lot of other kids that came here, immigrants that came here to the United States or were left behind in their home country while their parents were here and they were maybe left with other family members. I don't think people realize that can be traumatic. And I know that there'll be some people that are from Haiti or the Caribbean that will be like, oh, suck it up. I went through the same thing. Not everyone. You can grow up in the same household and be triggered by different things or not triggered. Those things can happen. Where if I know Gertie had a brother, my thing is they could have grown up in the same situation and reacted to what they went through very differently. Gertie has gone on to be fine for the most part, but then she's put in these situations on reality television, and then it brings up some of this stuff that she probably kind of buried. And she said in the after show that she's working with her therapist every Tuesday at 1. She's working with her therapist on having the conversation with her parents and setting up like where, when, and how she's going to have this conversation. I think there's a lot of immigrant children that are now adults that would love to have this conversation with their parents, saying like they don't want to blame them, but they want to be able to express like, this is how this made me feel. Okay. And the other aspect of this too, because Gertie says that's not even her first name. She says her first name. I can't remember what it is. But she said, people pronouncing her name, it was always an issue. And now she's sort of made it a thing. She's branded it. But growing up, that's not how she felt. So I appreciated the scene. First of all, reminding us as Black people to go into or people of color, going into therapy is fine. And maybe you can actually heal the wounds of things that you didn't even realize that needed healing. Someone came up to me or called in and talked about how we've talked about mental health before, and that prompted them to go to therapy. That's why I say scenes like this are important, because I know some people will write these scenes off and be like, oh, this is her storyline. She just needs a storyline. Yeah, her storyline is probably going to help a lot of people and help people not, realize, oh, I didn't realize that that's what is triggering me with my friend group or my relationship. It's actually stems from what happened to me when I was a kid. And I know parents were doing the best that they could. Please understand, we're not blaming the parents. What we're saying is, sometimes the decisions that you made traumatize children. I know your intention was to build a better life, but now you put me in a situation that is triggering to me. It didn't feel safe. And that's what Gertie is saying. Robert, thank you so much for the super chat and for watching the live stream. Thank you so much for that. Robert says, I saw the live stream. I love Uncensored Kempire. Will you have another show next year, or are you not sure yet? Robert, I'm not sure yet. I mean, my intention is to have more shows next year. I definitely think I will do a New York City show just because it's just easier because I'm in New York. And I love that venue, and I love that we can connect the entire worldwide audience of Kempire through that setup. So, yeah. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. I'm definitely, that is the intention. But it's also a lot of work. I know this is why you didn't get your OC and your Miami recap on Friday. Putting together a show is a lot of work, but there's a business that has to be made. There are contracts, there's negotiations, there's promotion. As I was saying at the top of this, New York, if they came out and we had sold out very quickly, that's less work for me to do in regards to promoting. I'm working with the platform to help promote, creating content to share so that you guys will buy tickets. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And then creating the show. It's all that. I'm working with the sound guy and the lighting guy to like, well, this needs to happen during the show. This needs to happen at the end. This, sound check, blah, blah, blah. So it's a lot of work. I know we make it look easy, but it's a lot of work. Then I'm doing this. I'm doing all of these other things. But yeah. Mr. Mellon, actually, you say you should do on a leg. You should go on an Asian leg of the tour. I'd love to do that. I just don't know if anyone would show up. Creme Brulee says, loved your London show. Look, London. I think I told you guys this too. I was trying to do London this year too. It's not easy trying to negotiate with these promoters and getting me in there. So yes, Leslie. Leslie says it can create abandonment issues. I get it. Hey, Kempire, chat, and mods. And I think that's what Gertie is talking about. She's talking about her abandonment issues. Just Kelly says, the Loverboy era tour with a side of villain. Maybe. Look, maybe. Here we go. Angel says, 2026 Loverboy era tour / dating live stories. Angel, you watched the live stream, so you saw what the lady in the audience said, and you saw what I said back. So that was something that we were working on. It just didn't come into fruition. Now it can. All right. Patricia says, Kempire After Dark on Virgin Cruises. Would you guys come for that? If I did a Kempire After Dark, all of you buy tickets and we go down and we go on the cruise and we recreate this? Okay. No, Maureen. Maureen says, Kempire, are you planning to recapping Special Forces coming out on September 25th? Are you working for that? We've never recapped Special Forces. That's not really a show I like, to be honest with you. Now, Traitors, when that comes back, yes. Mr. Melon Magic, I love the new photo. Mr. Melon Magic says, since you'll be in your Loverboy era, we can be nosy and find out your dating history. No, you can't. No, you can't. All right, let me move to this scene. Dinner at Marysol and, Steve's. So Steve makes some food. He invites Alexia and Frankie over. Marisol's being loud and belligerent, and she's bringing out the alcohol. And Frankie's just like, Alexia, Stop, you're drunk. Here's the thing. In defense of Frankie, we have to remember Frankie has a brain injury. So I know he's probably very sensitive to maybe light, sounds, and different things like that. So I think that's what it is. And we can only imagine how loud she is. But I thought it was funny in regards to him pointing out her drinking. He didn't even just say that she was loud. Alexia was the one who was like, "Oh, she's being a little too much." So they sit down to eat, and those shady producers and shady cameramen. Marysol says, I had a very large lunch and I had a big thing of vegan cheese before you guys got here. It's awkward if you're having a dinner, you're having people over for dinner, and you're not eating. That's very awkward. And I know there have been accusations thrown around about Marysol. We'll leave it at that. But it was a little awkward. But those shady producers kept on zooming in on the empty plate. Beautiful plates, though. Beautiful plates. They kept on zooming in on the plate because it's awkward. Everyone's eating and having a good time. And, they're talking about Alexia and Todd getting back together, and she's hopeful. They specifically talk about Peter and what he knows about what's going on between her and Todd. And she said he doesn't really know a lot. He hasn't really said a lot. Marysol says you should be a little worried because he doesn't talk a lot. But it looks like in the finale, he will be expressing his concerns about Todd. And remember, Todd, and I did a separate video with Todd. So Todd must have got privy to what Peter says during the season finale when it comes to how he feels about Todd. Keep in mind, Peter probably doesn't say a lot when it comes to Todd because Todd is paying for his rent. That's what Todd revealed in that video too. Todd is paying for his rent. So that might be part of the reason why he doesn't say too much. But maybe because of production, they want him to express concern for his mom. Express concern for his mom and what's going on when it comes to the Todd situation. And Marysol gets real when Alexia talked about possibly doing dinners with Todd again. Marysol starts hitting her lavender husband, hitting him like, you see. And then in her confessional, she makes it seem as if Steve is more concerned about Alexia than she is. You see how she likes to manipulate and puppeteer? No, just say that you are concerned. He didn't seem that concerned. When he flashed back, he was like, oh, that sounds terrible. He didn't seem that concerned about Alexia and Todd's situation. You are the concerned one. And she's just like, and mind you, when she's hitting Steve, Frankie's like, what's going on? It's too much. I think he probably really can't stand Marysol because she's just a lot. She's loud. She's theatric, histrionic. Yeah. But then they zoom in on the empty plate again. Girl, you could at least put food on the plate and then just, fiddled with it. It's kind of weird. Oh, Keith says I watched too much ID channel to have eating Marysol's food. My goodness. Well, she wouldn't do anything to Alexia. Patricia says Steve don't care. I agree. Q Potato, who's watching on Twitch. Shout out to everyone watching on Twitch, guys. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheKempire. Q Potato says Marysol is bored. Yeah. Abina says Marysol was pushing her opinions on Steve. She can never stand on her own. Is that a Capricorn trait? I don't think that's a Capricorn trait, to be honest with you. That just be a Marysol trait. Fab says this season she needs to stay as a friend of. No margarita for Marysol. I don't think anytime, no matter what she's done, they have not given her a mojito. It makes me wonder. So for those of you that are going to BravoCon, please ask that question. She's married. She seems very involved in the storyline. Why have production never given her a full-time position? Even when Dr. Nicole left, they still didn't give her a full-time position. There's got to be tea on that. The Dan Talk says that the empty plate was too weird. It was. At least, girl, just put something on there and you can fiddle with it. But she's there drinking a cocky. Okay. Right, Okemian says zooming in on the plate only makes her more self-conscious about food. I mean, I don't think she should have even just left it empty like that. It looks odd, especially when you're hosting guests, right? But just says some mixed greens at least. Even if you don't eat it, at least the food would be there. You were like, okay, what? Russ says Marysol was full-time season 1 and season 2. I know. She's an OG. But they have not made her full-time since the reboot. It makes me wonder why. But okay. But those are the seasons when we had Elsa. Dee, what's going on? Thank you for being a member. Dee says Marysol was always been the sneaky one, doing things behind the scenes. She was also used her mother speaking for her. Marysol is the real villain. I agree. I think we all can agree. Who disagrees? It's okay. You can disagree. All right, guys. We're almost at 250 likes. Let's get to 250 likes, and I'll drop the call link for you guys as well before I get to this final scene. But shout out to those of you watching on Twitter. I see you guys as well. Thank you for being here. Let me drop the call link for our members. Shout out to our members. Become a member today at TheKempire.com/join. And for our merch, head on over to houseofkempire.com. I have some new merch that's going to be coming your way, so stay tuned for that. Excuse me, y'all. See, this is why I don't eat before a live, because then I'm like, this is why I always try not to. But then if I don't eat, I'm gonna be like, ready to go. All right, let me drop the call in link for our members on the post tab here on YouTube. It's been dropped, so go get your link and live chat. Once we get to 250 likes, I'll drop the call link for you guys as well. All right. So the dinner at Marysol, Alexia says she's still hopeful to get with Todd. Okay. Then this final scene is Stephanie preparing for her Christmas party. And the Christmas party is going to be the big event that closes out the season. Maybe that's why they gave her chair next to Andy. Still don't think. After watching the entire season, the majority of the season, I still don't think Stephanie should be sitting next to Andy. Sorry. So Adriana is going to be performing at this event. She's going to be using Emilio Estefan's band and things. So she's still working with him. Okay. But then she also, I feel like there's so many layers to Adriana that even in the scene that we unpack, she's performing at this event. Then she's talking about curating an art show for Art Basel. If you don't know what Art Basel is, one of the biggest events in Miami for art. And so she's curating this British artist's show for Art Basel. Okay. Adriana says that the reason why, because Stephanie's like, you seemed a little down during the trip and during the cruise. And she's like, my boyfriend's been away for 6 weeks. And, because she's an artist, she's very sensitive to, the drama that's happening in this group. So, and look, and I really do believe, Alexia says that she's an empath. I believe that Adriana's an empath. I could see how that can be a turnoff to her. Remember in Sevilla, when they were arguing in the lobby, she was like, guys, I'm going to go. I'm going to go have my salmon. Okay. So she says that's part of why. Is there more to it? Maybe we'll get to the bottom of it. She doesn't really say if there was more to it during the after show. At least I don't recall. But then Stephanie drops some tea to Adriana. She's like, so I found out that Marysol is not happy with me because of us having a lunch, like the lunch that they had together. And Adriana's like, that's so sorority-like, so mean girl, so high school. But she's not surprised because she knows that this is who Marysol is. Mind you, her and Marysol are supposed to be good at this particular point. At least good for now. But now you're mad at Stephanie for befriending Adriana. It is a very immature mentality for someone that is damn near 60. And that's not age shaming. It's a fact. And you're acting like a little girl. But that's what the bros have been doing. They've been acting like children. But the big thing with Alexia and Marysol, Alexia keeps saying that she's a little bit more outspoken than Marysol. No, I think Alexia is more is outspoken, but I also think Marysol likes being sneaky. She likes moving behind the scenes. It's not that she is afraid to express how she feels. I think that she just likes being sneaky. And she knows that it's going to look ridiculous saying that I'm mad at you for going out to lunch with Adriana. So she wanted her to be on her side. She didn't want another Dr. Nicole. So that's why she was happy when Dr. Nicole was not coming back this season. I don't blame Dr. Nicole for not coming back. I know for us, it's sort of like, no, we want you back. You bring balance to this group. But at the same time, I don't blame her. Like, she has like a real career, a real husband that has a real career. She's not getting stuck in this Bravo universe of reality television and doing everything reality. She's booked and busy. So I don't blame her. And now she's got 2 kids. It's a little bit different. If she comes back, I'll be happy for her and for the audience. But at the same time, I don't blame her for not coming back, choosing peace over reality television. I'm gonna support that any day. But that's me. That's me. All right. But then Stephanie ends this because this is going to be the precursor for next week as their segue. Stephanie says at the end, she says, if you're going to come for me in regards to Marysol, if you're going to come for me, you better hit the bullseye because when it's my turn, I don't miss. I know some people said that they don't want Stephanie to come back next season. I don't feel that way. I think Stephanie, although she's obnoxious, if we're thinking like producers, she's causing a feeling from the audience. You may not like her, but she's giving you the lifestyle. She's actually not sucking up to anyone. She's gravitating. Well, no, she's sucking up to Larsa. She is sucking up to Larsa. But maybe she likes Larsa for whatever. I do feel like Stephanie, very much like Lisa, there really is not a lot of depth. I definitely think she values things in this lifestyle more than anything of true depth, in my opinion, based off what we've seen of her on the show. But I don't think she's someone that we'd be like, oh, don't come back next season. No, I don't think she still deserves the seat next to Andy. For those that don't realize, that for the Housewives is a big thing. For me, I really don't care. But if we're going to talk about it, I don't think that she deserved it. Exactly. Natalie says Nicole is genuinely busy and a real professional. Peyton says pro Stephanie. Yeah, like some people like, I don't want to see Stephanie come back. Yes, because she caused a negative emotion out of you, but that's not necessarily a bad thing when we're talking about Housewives or reality television or television in general. Akiba says, leave the plane off the show. Tired of hearing about it. I don't think they're going to leave it off the show because there are fans that love the luxurious lifestyle and blah, 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 blah. Okay. All right, live chat. I'm going to drop the call link for you guys. We're going to take some callers that want to share their thoughts and opinions on the latest episode of the Real Housewives of Miami. If you're listening to this, be sure to, especially if you're listening to this on Spotify, you can leave comments on Spotify. So make sure that you take advantage of that. If you want to engage with our community on Spotify, you can leave comments and we can do polls and things like that on Spotify. But I'm also available on Apple Podcasts. So subscribe today, guys. We're putting all kinds of exclusive content there. And you never know. I might drop one of the cities that we recorded the Kempire After Dark. I might drop it on the podcast. Might drop it for Club Kempire. Those that don't know what Club Kempire is, that is our paid Apple Podcast subscription. You can check it out and get a free 3-day trial right now. That's where I drop tea that I don't drop anywhere else. I am very intentional with what I'm doing on different platforms. So make sure to check that out. I do have an episode that I need to drop for Club Kempire, so stay tuned. Again, there's a free 3-day trial. You can find that on the Apple Podcast app, or you can go to their website if you don't have an Apple product. All right. Matter of fact, I might do an episode after this and talk to our Club Kempire baddies about the show, the tea that was spilled, all of that stuff. So stay tuned. Yeah, that sounds like a good juicy episode. And maybe spill some of the things I didn't talk about anywhere else. I told you, for those that came in person, there was tea spilled offline that you guys didn't experience. For those that live in New York, you missed out. All right. I didn't even look backstage. All right. Did I drop the call link for everybody? I did. Guys, let's get to 300 likes and let's bring up our first caller. Keep in mind, the opinions of the callers do not represent the opinions of myself, TheKempire LLC, or our sponsors, and everything that they say is of their opinion and alleged. Okay. Especially when Janelle calls. Janelle, what's going on?
Bonjour, Kempire. How are you, my dear?
I'm fantastic, Janelle. How are you?
I am
I'm mad I didn't get to see
good.
you after the show.
I was looking for you. Okay, first off, people were coming up to me, go like, Janelle, where's the meet and greet? I said, I don't know. It's somewhere.
I'm surprised
I'm,
they didn't tell people like where to go.
I was a tour guide, and I didn't know I was one. I was like, I don't know, but I bet you I know it's happening.
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
They found their way.
Exactly. When there's a will, there's a way. But it was so much fun on Friday. And people were like, wait, are you the Janelle? Bonjour, Janelle. I was like, oh Lord.
They knew immediately when you said
Bonjour.
bonjour.
I'm a mess. But anyways, okay, I know there's a line. Let me get it together.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was diagnosed with ADHD earlier this year. When I tell you it is a pain, it is a process to get diagnosed as an adult.
Wow.
And also on top of that, as a Black person, it is incredibly hard to get diagnosed with ADHD because as we know from Married to Medicine and during the pandemic when they had those virtual conversations, there is racial prejudice in there's racism in medicine, basically. There's racism in medicine. And so when there's little Black kids who are displaying similar traits of ADHD, like white kids, they pass it off as something else. Oh, the Black kid is just, they're being problematic, or they're troublemaker, or they're this. Yeah. And so that's a lot of reason why you're seeing a lot of late in life diagnosis for Black people. And then on top of that, my psychiatrist was telling me that for many Black women in particular, we have been trained to always do a lot, to work twice as hard, to get half as much, to be the backbone of this and that, of that family, of this group and whatnot. And so the overachieving nature that we are taught as children, we lead with that as adults, which leads to late in life ADHD diagnosis, because you don't understand, like, well, why was I doing certain things at like 10 years old, and now at 30s and 40s, all of a sudden, oh my God, it makes sense. And that was the case for me, because like I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood in Florida, and like I worked twice as hard to get half as much, because I always had, my teacher was like, oh, Janelle talks too much. Oh, her personality is too big. Or when I would talk too much, I was like, oh, Janelle's always getting in trouble. But they're like, oh, but she's so intelligent. And then years later, my therapist and my psychiatrist were like, no, Janelle, you had ADHD and your teachers were stupid. So anyway, I'm rooting for Gertie. We stay rooting for Gertie. And I'm excited to see this Loverboy era show that's coming about, because I talked to the lady who had that question, and she gave me more insight. She told me more at length of what was in her dream. So I'm excited for you.
Oh, can you DM me?
Oh yeah, because I wasn't sure. Like, do you want me to publicly say it?
No, DM it to me.
Okay, yeah, because I asked her questions.
Yeah.
Because, I love the astrology and the spirituality of it all. So I was like, girl, tell me more.
Yeah. I mean, I know she wanted to make another comment, but, we were packed for time, and I want to make sure we got to everyone's questions and comments.
But the man who asked you a question and asked about young, rich, and African.
Wait, first of all, he took the mic and started speaking French. I was like, excuse me?
Right. And also, he smells so good.
Oh, I bet he did.
Walked past me.
I gave him one of my roses at the end.
You should have gotten more than a rose.
Oh,
let me just say, he smells so good. He smelled of dreams and luxury.
Oh.
And, okay, I was like, if he was part of my persuasion, the things that would have been done. But I think he is more of yours. So therefore, I encourage you to live your best life.
Noted.
If you catch what I'm saying in these internet streets.
But he spilled some tea. I was not ready. Again, you never know. Were you at the show when that young lady spilled tea on Crystal Kung Minkoff's brother?
Yeah. Yes.
You just never know.
And you never know. You never know. But also what he said about the person, I'm not surprised, because when I was living in Ghana back in 2011, that same stuff was happening. I mean, like, when I had to go to a specific club, I had to do a special knock, password, and all that jazz just to get in. And it was just like, it's like, because in Africa, especially in West Africa and different parts, it's just, oh child, it all made sense. Y'all had to be at the show. I can't say what it was. You had to be at the show.
Just saying.
It's my fault.
Wait,
There was
wait.
live stream tickets. Bonjour, amen.
What did you think about Real Housewives of Miami? Anything else?
Oh, I loved it.
Okay.
I need Stephanie to stop trying to get Alexia's attention. I need her
Yeah.
to stop trying to try to was not people please, but you know what? She needs to accept who she is. If
Mm.
you're gonna have a certain tone about you and you're gonna own it, then own it.
Yep.
If you are going to speak a certain way to people, then own it, Stephanie. Stephanie, I think, is actually a very good housewife. I know people find her annoying, but that's a good thing because there's some people who are boring who barely hop on the screen.
Yep.
And guess what? We have talked so much about this freaking plane. And we all, and listen, people really need to stop putting out their personal business out there. And you are based in Florida. People need to know in the state of Florida, everything is public record. Okay. I was able to look up Todd Napolis voting record from like the past 10 years. I'm able to figure out people's party registrations. I'm able to figure out where you live because everything in Florida is public record.
Except the Epstein list?
Well, now, let me tell you, if you know the right people, that's all I'll say.
Oh, well, I'm not surprised by that. Okay.
If you know the right people, especially in South Florida,
Mm.
you can see certain things. Now, I don't know those people, but I know those people that know those people. I'm just not privy to those people because I am not yet in the place of stature where I can get
I
it.
don't know if you want to even be in that place of stature.
No, I do. I really don't. I really don't. I really don't because you know what? Those people are crazy and they do stuff, and yeah, I don't want to end up in the Gulf of I'm a so called I don't want to end up in the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, so
But you
I'm
would
a
call
mind
the
my
Gulf of
business.
America? No.
No, I rebuke that. The Gulf of Mexico, because that's what I learned in school. Gulf of Mexico.
Because that's what it is. But
That's what it is. I'm not listen, and also in Fort Lauderdale, crazy stuff does happen. Think about what two cities Fort Lauderdale is between: West Palm Beach, where Homeboy is, and Miami. And also, Larsa used to live in Fort Lauderdale because that's where her house was with Scottie Pippen.
Also, she knows the thing or two about the swingers parties.
Yes, she probably allegedly maybe may have attended some. It's Fort Lauderdale. People really gotta know Florida be crazy. Florida's crazy.
I think we know.
Okay, well, yes. I mean, Florida people be crazy, but I really need and I also agree with you about Adriana. I do think she was down. I do think she was like, and I don't try to listen to everything that Anna says on her podcast. I'll catch it every now and then because sometimes Anna Kinko says, I don't know if she's the most reliable narrator. But she did say that after the reunion, she spoke to Adriana, and Adriana hasn't seen her mother in like 2 or 3 years just due to scheduling and stuff. And she took a beeline trip to where her mother is.
Because where's her mother? Brazil?
I think her mother's still in Brazil. I think so. I don't know. Anna said on her podcast, but I don't remember. But Anna said that Adriana was so down after the reunion, she made a emergency trip to go see her mother.
Oh wow! First of all, I mean, I appreciate the tea, but Anna, that's so personal.
Right. And the thing is like I'm close to my mom and like we talk fairly often. I mean, but I also don't I live in another state, so I don't get to see her as often, but I can only imagine if what we're seeing on the screen and then what may have possibly happened at the reunion. I'm thinking like, yeah, I probably would make an emergency trip to see my mama too, especially if I haven't seen her in 2-3 years. And like I think Adriana, I think she you know what? I think Adriana also, she's a Sagittarius. So I understand this I understand this, and I would be curious to see if her sun or Mars placement is in the 8th house. Because if you typically have a sun or Mars placement in the 8th house, you attract a lot of jealous people or people who are constantly looking at you and observing you and trying to figure out what you're doing because they want what you have. And I wouldn't be surprised if Adriana, if she's a Sag like me, she really does not mind just like chilling. Like she'll do her crazy stuff, but she don't mind chilling. She doesn't need to be in the forefront. She don't need to be Alexia. Okay. and people keep bugging her because naturally we pay attention to her on screen, and certain people like Marysol do not like it. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, because Marysol sees that Adriana is an easy target, and Adriana's just like, I'm just here to get my check and live my best life.
All
Okay, and
right.
so yeah,
All right, Janelle. Thank you
I'm
so much for the
curious.
tea.
Yes, yes, child. Let me tell you. I mean, I don't like to bring up Anna too much because she didn't think what Adriana said was a problem with Kiki, and I was like, Anna, if you're like, just say you're from Miami and you just don't know.
Mm,
That's all. Because
mm.
sometimes the passing, I can't. Let me go. Let me get off these. Let me get off these internet streets. But Kempire, it was such a good show on Friday. And I
Thank
cannot
you.
wait for you to do more shows in New York and live your best life. And it was so funny. It was so good. And Dr. Wendy, we coming for you. Okay, bye.
Bye. Yeah. we no longer call her Dr. Wendy. We call her Wendy Acefa over here. All right, let me say thank you. Guys, we're almost at 300 likes. Be sure to like the video if you haven't already. And if you're listening to this, be sure to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Shar J says, thank you for the super chat, Shar. Oh, I don't think I've ever gotten an $8 super chat. I like it though. Thank you, Shar. Shar says that's the first private plane with her own persona. I mean, it really is. Thank you, Shar. And for the $8. That's such a very specific number. Did you do that intentionally? All right. Angel's back. So I'm going to bring Angel up next. Angel, what did you want to share in regards to Real Housewives of Miami?
Hey, Kempire, happy Sunday.
You
I
too.
just want to first off say congratulations on the show. The
Thank you.
live stream was awesome.
Thank you.
Tamar did deserve that lady award, but Ray J should have got a woo 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 little baby child like consolation prize or something.
Oh, okay. Noted.
No, now back to the episode. I give it a 7.5 for this week. God don't like ugly, and that's why Julia's hair looks like that. And then I was like, finally, Larsa and Lisa buried it. But then in the after show, I got so upset that Larsa went to Pet Cemetery, dug up that horse, and beat it again. Like,
I know.
Lisa, like, it's not that deep. Sorry, Miami needs to clean house. Julia's the first one that needs to go bye bye. Um, Marysol is a danger to society. She needs to go. They need to break up that clique with her and Alexia and do her like they did Couch Potato and Giselle so that Alexia can be a softer Alexia and be in her girl era because we like her a little bit more. Let her and Stephanie team up or something. And then Lisa can go too because she's offering us nothing but like shallowness and materialism that she doesn't have anymore. So that's it. I don't know. I know I just kind of boom, 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 but that is how I feel about this episode. If it weren't for Larsa and Lisa dragging this out so long and Marysol having cookies for dinner with no food, I would have probably gave it a 9.
Oh, damn. Thanks, Angel.
Have a good one, Camp.
You too. Bye. For those asking about the Dr. Wendy story, I'm sure Brooke will. I'll double check with her. I don't want to share her tea. She shared it during our live show, so I'm sure she's going to now that she shared it there first, she's going to share it on her YouTube channel. So I'm going to let her tell the story. So I'll double check after this live when she's going to share it, and I'll let you guys know. But I'm sure she will. But she shared it exclusively at our live show on Friday. Told you to get a ticket. For those that didn't get the ticket, be like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Shar, thank you. Shar says, yes, 8 equals new beginnings and wealth. I know that's right. I was like, this is very intentional. $8. I love it. All right. Mr. Melon Magic says the library is open. Okay. Let me bring up Ellie next. Ellie, what did you want to share in regards to Real Housewives of Miami?
Hi, Kempire. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yay, yes, I can hear you. Usually when I use my AirPods, it doesn't work. But it's been so long that I've been on the replay crew. I'm so excited to be back on live. I'm excited to as well to hear Brooke Ashley's tea. I'm going to go on her page after this. So really quickly, and I'm Ellie from Texas. Gertie with the ADHD. I just like the chat. I loved the chat today because we were all kind of talking about our experiences, our journeys.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I wanted to touch on is how ADHD really affected my relationship with my partner and
Oh.
how it could affect intimacy, our day to day. There's this really great podcast and TikTok called ADHD Love with Rich and Rocks.
Oh.
And they've really helped me figure out how to separate my ADHD from me and not feeling shame that, hey, like I forgot something. Hey, it's messy. Mine translates into inattentiveness because my brain is going so fast.
Yeah.
So I sometimes forget that I'm in reality, that I'm here because I'm in my brain so much.
Yeah.
So adult diagnosis, especially for women, is just so important. You know, so many little girls are being told, oh, you're so airheaded and spinny. But it's like, no, my head is like constant. I don't have time to listen to you right now in the present day because I'm watching a show in my head. Anyway,
Wow.
so going on to Real Housewives of Miami, even though it was kind of forced, but the alliance between, or the friendship, I should say, between Adriana, Lisa, and Gertie, especially on the after show,
Yeah.
oh, I just love it so much. And I hate that. I wish they would have gone, you know, into that organically, but they were kind of pushed into it by the other girls.
Yeah.
So the journey, but the result is something really entertaining and great. And I love them together and I love them supporting each other and supporting Gertie, supporting Adriana, even supporting Lisa. It's really nice to see. As far as Stephanie goes, I was just so, and it keeps coming into my brain. Alexia's like really emotional about her sisters. And Stephanie's like, yeah, I don't talk to my sisters either.
Right?
But like just so cold and just like, me too. Me too. And Alexia's like really saddened by it because she's like, that's my sister. And I have 3 sisters. So like, I get that sister love, you know, love yourself and love your sisters. But I didn't get that from Stephanie. So it was like, are you just saying that just to say it? It was weird.
I don't think there's
And
depth
then,
of emotion with Stephanie.
yeah. And I'm like, but some people can come off as like cold, but they really are deep. I don't know if that's the case with Stephanie, but I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. And she has made me mad, upset me, maybe I should say, throughout the seasons. But just like I have a BFA in fine art photography. So even if art moves you to be upset or grossed out or the fact that it's moving you at all is the thing, right? So, okay, Stephanie, you moved me. I get it. So that's all I have to say, and I'm just so excited to be on the live with y'all again. And I just missed the live chat, live chat, and Mama Ali and everybody. It's just your community, which our community, maybe I should say, right? Because I'm involved, is just so rich and so loving and cordial and respectful. And I've tried to hop on other ones, even the ones that you've had interviews with, and sometimes I just feel a little pushed out. And so I've never ever felt that here. So thank you so much.
I love that. And thank you, Ellie, for sharing your story. I think that's so important. You just never know where our conversations, when we're talking about reality television, is going to lead to. But this ADHD conversation, I think, is going to really help a lot of people. So thank you for sharing that.
It really is. Of course. Thank you for letting me. Have a good one. I love
you
y'all.
too. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Bye. I love these side conversations. So again, when I'm sharing it out on socials later, I'm going to let people know that really pay attention to our conversation today on ADHD. Our final caller will be Audrey. She's been waiting patiently behind the scenes. Audrey, what is going on? Thoughts and opinions on Real Housewives of Miami?
Hi, Kempire. Wow, this is my first time calling in on a Miami Live.
I was a little shocked. I was like, Audrey?
Right, exactly. Like, who's this? No, but I'm about to go to my peer bar class at 4:00. So I have some time, and I said, oh, when I saw it pop, I was like, oh my God, okay, here we go. So I did watch it. A few things, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know if it was last week, because sometimes I'm behind with Miami.
Okay.
Did this episode start off with Kiki and her dad, or was that the episode before?
I think that was the episode before, because this episode started off with them being on the cruise.
Oh, yes, that's right. But can I say something about that?
Yeah.
And this is as someone who, I have a lot of friends who are from the Caribbean. I just went to Jamaica for the first time ever a couple weeks ago, and I had a great time.
Okay.
I found that conversation to be really troubling.
Mm.
You saw in the subtitles when they said, "Just get over it, just let it go." And I don't know if this is something that you find a lot in Caribbean households, but I know as a Black American, it was that whole thing of kitchen table talk. We
Yep.
don't talk about that too much. Just, those little secrets
Yep.
that are in Black families in particular that you just do not talk about. And it looked like Kiki tried
Yeah.
to express to him, like, this really bothered me. This really affected me.
Mhm.
And I think it has a lot to do with why she always shows her boobs, or even on this last episode, literally her legs are wide open. You are a grown woman with your legs wide open.
Yep.
You're trying to get attention, clearly. But I can see it's like, I'm trying to get the attention my father never gave me. I can get it, or my mother.
And I feel like that connects to what Gertie was talking about in therapy as well. Sort of, she
Right.
wants to express herself, but she knows her parents, that their reaction might not be favorable with her expressing, like, this is what, growing up this way made me feel. I think it's all connected in regards to that whole Caribbean Black experience.
And the Gertie thing, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was heartbreaking to me as a dark-skinned Black girl growing up on Long Island and being in a very predominantly, like, the neighborhood I grew up in was like, everyone used to joke and call it the Huxtables, because it was, upwardly mobile Black people.
Yeah.
But the school district I went to was predominantly white. All my friends were white, and that whole thing. And I remember having a conversation with my mother recently, just, as a grown up, saying, Mom, I don't think that was a safe environment. I get what you and Dad were trying to do, and put us in, like, this really, it's a fantastic, I'm not going to say a school district. Anyone could look it up on Long Island. It's one of the top 10 school districts on Long Island. But I was like, I don't think it was safe. Now that I'm an adult, learning about slavery and being the only Black girl in the class, learning about slavery was really different. I remember my mom was a freaking engineer for Boeing. And I remember one of my friends asked me, was your mom a slave? So when I watched the Gertie thing, like, I get that. Like, when she says nobody knew could pronounce my name, so then I got made fun of. English wasn't my first language, so I got made fun of. Like, it follows you into your adulthood. And I'm glad that Gertie's even showing that, because I always thought that Gertie was a little awkward, not because of ADHD, because I didn't know about it till she brought it up. I thought it was because English wasn't her first language. That's why I always thought she was a little awkward. Even though she was awkward, she still didn't deserve the treatment. And I'm glad you brought this up. Those microaggressions that we saw in the beginning of the season, moving forward for the reunion, I can't trust Andy with it, or the other people around, but, like, someone needs to address that. Every single time, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but every single time I see those Black boys,
right,
I am worried. And the fact that his godparents are now, like, white men, so you have no Black male representation for
I think that's
these
what they
boys.
used. That's what they used Karamo for. You saw right after that episode.
Exactly, right. But it's like, but like, I know they're probably not that close.
No.
And it's like,
being facetious.
like, that really troubles me. One last thing that I will say, and I am ashamed that Stephanie is a Scorpio, because as a fellow Scorpio, we know better. I think what the last caller said was she comes off like coal. That's sometimes a Scorpio thing, where we come off cold, and that's a protective thing. But not to show emotion. Inside we are raging. Inside we are boiling. Think Phaedra Parks, like how Phaedra Parks seemed cool, calm, collected on the outside, but on the inside she's seething, right, and plotting. So when she's really hurt or angry, this Stephanie thing, and I said this before to one of my friends. If you notice Kempire, I don't know if I wrote this to you or on one of your and I put it in the comment section. I can't remember. Do you notice, like, when she talks about the plane, she says, "Welcome to Shoma Air," and she makes it a point to say that almost every time, and they make it a point to show it. They could edit that out. To me, it seems like that plane is a write-off, and it seems like something is going on where she has to say Shoma Air so she could write it off as a business expense.
She's been showing off all of their new projects they want to do. I mean, there have been rumors about the money being funny and being sued by his children, allegedly. So I do feel like, first, it's smart. I mean, you're on this platform. Yes, your business does very well, but I mean, I'm assuming. But my thing is, being on this platform now, you're being opened up to it. This is like free promo.
Right.
So.
But I feel like when she says, just pay attention to it, when she says Shoma Air, it's like, I can prove now that this was a business write-off. Like, this wasn't
if it wasn't before, it is now.
Right. And it's like, that seems funny to me, and that tells me she knows a lot more about what's going on with her husband and those funny finances that he puts off. And I promise you, this is the last thing I'll say. I did think the thing with Adriana and the her age on her cake, I thought that was mean. When they cut to Adriana's face, it was like, that was mean. And you guys did that on purpose to be mean. It's like, I think Adriana, when her travels and when they were in Sevilla, and I'm pronouncing it incorrectly.
Sevilla.
But when they were, say it again? Sevilla, right. When they were there in Spain, I loved how she talked about the history of the culture and the architecture. Like, I could see her with like a spin-off show with like where she travels and stuff like that, because she really is very cultured. And I actually like that about her. So anyway, that's all I'll say. I think Miami was a good season. I'm ready for the other franchises, but you know, that Mean Girls thing that they do, and the microaggressions against these Black women, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it, on these shows where it's predominantly not Black, it's really troubling to watch. And it just, you know, so seeing Gertie and everything she's going through, and even when she said like, yeah, I'm a survivor, woohoo, but I got to wake up and look at this stuff. When she talks about the scars and the bald head and, you know, the lack of intimacy, and it's, you know, it just breaks my heart for her. And I'm just glad she has a voice on this show, because I can, as a Black girl who grew up in a predominantly white area in school and what have you, I so get it. I know exactly how it feels. It is very triggering to watch, to be honest. So, but anyway, thank you for what you do. I hate that I missed New York, but I'll be in New York in like 2 weeks. But I ended up missing a show. But you know, I always go.
It's okay. You went to the Atlanta show.
I did. I went to both shows, and I slipped you some tea, and I was right about the tea. Just saying, I was right. So let's see what happens. And I do know, we'll say, the press conference with Kelly's ex-husband, I did hear that RHOA cameras were there. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Conveniently, he's threatening to sue them, though.
Right. Isn't that weird? But maybe I don't know. It's like, you know, and I got it from a very credible source. I'm like, well, why were the cameras there? And he said, I don't know. Maybe they're going to put it on the show.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean, they could technically be there. It was like an open press conference.
It certainly was. And they sent it out to everybody. Like, they wanted the attention. They wanted, you know what I mean? Like the publicity. So we'll see what happens with it. But anyway, Kempire, have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. I'm going to go do my pure bar.
Okay, I'm going to go do a little bit of I think I'm going to do arms today.
Huh?
I'm going to go do arms today.
Oh my God, the arms are a killer, aren't they? It's like, when they do the little weights and stuff like that. But anyway, it's worth it because we look fantastic. Huh?
Yes.
Anyway.
Audrey, have a great rest of your Sunday. Have a great workout.
Bye.
One of the things that Audrey said that I want to mention in regards to the microaggressions when it comes to Real Housewives of Miami, because I know people like Lonnie Love want to watch what happens. Like, this is why you can't have mixed cast and you can't put the one Black person in this. No. What should happen here is that you have someone moderate a conversation so that this audience of white and other understand and learn and grow, especially Julia. You're raising 2 Black boys. Separating and ignoring the conversation is not the point of this experience, if that's your real intention. But we know the intention for Andy Cohen and these Bravo executives is to make money and entertainment. They don't want to deal with the audience being triggered and upset and mad about the micro and macro aggressions that we've been watching on their shows. It's not about ignoring that or being like, oh, we can't have Black people on these shows. They can only be on all Black cast. No, because that's not how the world works. Miami is not just all Black people together. You're mixing and mingling. This is an opportunity. Look what we saw with Garcelle having a conversation with Kyle. I'm sure she learned a thing or two. I mean, she could learn a thing or two more, but she learned a thing or two based off of what happened between them because they actually sat down and had a conversation. So if we have this, this is what will piss me off for the season, is if we sit down for this reunion and they don't talk about the micro and macro aggressions of what went down with Gertie, this cast, and how they ignored how she felt in that moment, and no one really checked up on her. I'm sure Gertie's going to be very loud about it, but we'll see what's kept in the edit. Thank you to everyone that called in, shared the live, liked the live. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video. And if you're watching the replay of this, be sure to share your thoughts. I know you're probably like, oh my gosh, we have a Sunday live. Yes, we had a Sunday live. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you to our King's Guards. Thank you to everyone that sent in a super chat. Thank you to our subscribers. Thank you to our channel members. We appreciate you guys as well. Not Mr. Mellon said, not Kyle Scissorin Richards. Stop. Okay. Queen Day says, agree. Black people are everywhere and we live in all types of communities. So removing us doesn't solve the issue. So I wholeheartly disagree with what Lonnie said on that man's platform to his face when you could have used that opportunity to say something else. That would have been your opportunity to be like, well, you know what I think should have happened on Potomac? Or you know what I think we need to have someone come in and help moderate these conversations. Hence why you will never see me on Watch What Happens Live, because they're not ready for the truth. Or as Katie Janella would say, my truth. All right. Thank you all for being here. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. I will see you tomorrow for our Real Housewives of Atlanta Rewind, Rewatch, Recap of Season 6 reunion. Oh, I froze. I was doing so good. So good. Matter of fact, I should keep it like this. You know what? I'm going to keep it like this. I'm not going to change it. I'm going to bring in this photo from the other day. Hold on. There we go. I'm going to keep it like this. Thank you to our King's Guards. Thank you to our channel members. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. Again, more information on our podcast, our merch, everything Kempire will be available in the description. And if you love my skincare, head on over to the description so you can get 10% off of our butter products. Next Friday, I'll be posting this on my socials. Next Friday, I will be doing an online shopping event with Butter. Stay tuned for that. I will be posting about it. Make sure you're following Butter on socials. I'll be going live and we'll be talking about my skincare routine. For those that have seen me on tour in person, everything has been Butter products. I've been using it for months now. So go get your Butter products today. 10% off is now available in the description. And if you follow me on TikTok, you can also check it out in my TikTok shop. Follow me on TikTok at TheKempire. So I shared with you my morning skincare routine. Now I'm sharing my nighttime skincare routine, brought to you by our friends over at Butter. Over the last several weeks, we've partnered with Butter and I've been utilizing their skincare routine and I have been loving it. So let me share with you my nighttime skincare routine. It's very simple and it's made even simpler by our friends over at Butter. First, I start off with their cleanser. Wash your face with their cleanser. Then I use their silky soft towel, which I love. They're disposable. They are quality. You shouldn't be using the same towel that you use to dry your body on your face. And then I'm using their retinol. People don't understand the benefits of retinol. Smaller pores, youthful skin. A lot of people don't even utilize this. You should. All you need next is their Cocoa Shea Moisturizer. As I've said before, they've made my routine a lot simpler because I've had to use a different morning moisturizer versus what I use at night. With their Cocoa Shea Moisturizer, I can utilize it for my morning and my evening. I just put a little bit less on in the morning. At night, I put a little bit more. And that's it for my nighttime routine. One of the other big questions that people have asked me, is there a scent in the moisturizer? Very light scent. The other question people have asked me, is Butter Black owned? Not only is it Black owned, their president is a Black woman. But of course, you also ask, can we get a discount? Of course, get 10% off when you use my link, butterskin.com/Kempire. More information on Butter will be available in the description. Thanks, Butter.